choices. I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying
A few moments later.
George Stephanopoulos, pretty high and mighty there, doing all that mansplaining. Well, let's do a little explaining about who George is. He parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Yep, George Stephanopoulos showed up at his house. This has been reported. It's known. It was reported discreetly because they got to protect, Stephanopoulos. It was December of 2010, and Jeffrey Epstein was sitting down for dinner with some of his famous friends, personalities who spanned the TV dial from morning to late night. There was George Stephanopoulos. I knew about Jeffrey Epstein. George Stephanopoulos did not. One of the highest paid men in television. What did George say when he got busted? I should have done more due diligence. It was a mistake to go. How much is this guy paid to tell the truth? You don't get paid $15 million to tell the truth over there at ABC. Here's something else you may not know about George Stephanopoulos. He was one of Bill Clinton's henchmen.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I hope you guys are not tired of winning yet, because we have to talk about another massive W for Trump, right? It seems as if every passing day after the election, we're just picking up W's after W's after W's, okay? We're eating W's like Jameis Winston, okay? I'm stuffed, okay? But I want more food. I want more W's, okay? I cannot back away from the buffet table of W's that seems to be in abundance for conservatives nowadays, okay? We just cannot stop winning, okay? So I'm about to get fat off of W's, right? If you see me get fat over the next 3 to 4 months, okay, I'm bulking on W's, right? I'm just saying, I'm overstuffed on the wins. And today we got to talk about another big W for President Trump, involving ABC and George Stephanopoulos, aka George Slopopotamus, right? Because they're being forced to apologize to President Trump, and they are forced to pay $15 million to settle a defamation suit that was about to go to court, in which George Stephanopoulos would have to essentially testify, and they didn't want that, right? They didn't want that, so they decided to settle for an apology and paying President Trump $15 million. And let's be clear here, George Slopopotamus is no stranger to having to issue apologies for being a propagandist for the Democrat Party.
Now I want to address some news you may have seen about me. Over the last several years, I've made substantial donations to dozens of charities, including the Clinton Global Foundation. Those donations were a matter of public record, but I should have made additional disclosures on air when we covered the foundation. And I now believe that directing personal donations to that foundation was a mistake. Even though I made them strictly to support work done to stop the spread of AIDS, help children, and protect the environment in poor countries, I should have gone the extra mile to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. I apologize to all of you for...
Now, the reason why this happened is because George Stephanopoulos was being sloppy on air as a so-called journalist, but because he's a Democrat propagandist, they don't believe in actual journalistic standards, right? And he essentially accused President Trump of being found liable for rape, even though he was not found liable for rape in the case of E. Jean Carroll, which in my opinion, I think is bogus, but he was not found liable of rape. He was found liable of sexual abuse, which is not the same thing as rape. But apparently George Stephanopoulos doesn't know the difference, or he doesn't care to understand the difference, at least not when it comes to trying to push propaganda on his liberal audience, okay? And that backfired big time, okay, because of this settlement. So I want to go ahead and play the clip here of when George Stephanopoulos continued to accuse Trump of being found liable for rape, even though that is false.
I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. It was a civil court. It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you about the man
But as a rape victim, who's been shamed for years now because of her rape. You're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. For my political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you've courageously talked about that.
Because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to shame you.
You are. That's exactly what you're doing.
You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you also have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid because they're defamed
and shamed
by those
like you're trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to give George Stephanopoulos the benefit of the doubt and to say that he is smart enough to understand the difference. I just don't think he cares to articulate the difference to his audience. He was pushing propaganda, and this is a propaganda backfire because he knew that what he was saying was not true, and that, again, as a journalist, he should have been a lot more careful with his words live on air in regards to describing the outcome of that civil case against Trump. But again, the mainstream media, their main goal, at least before the election and kind of after the election as well, too, they haven't really changed, was to push propaganda against Trump, no matter what the cost is, okay? ABC probably sees this as a drop in the bucket in regards to their crusade against Trump and trying to essentially affect public opinion of him. So let's read here. ABC News and their top anchor, George Stephanopoulos, have reached a settlement with Donald Trump in his defamation suit, which will result in the news network paying the president-elect $15 million. Honestly, it should have been more. Should have been $100 million, to be quite honest with you. Should have been $100 million. The statement was publicly filed on Saturday, revealing that the two parties have come to an agreement and avoided a costly trial. According to the settlement, ABC News will pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to a presidential foundation and museum to be established by or for plaintiff, as presidents of the United States of America have established in the past. Additionally, the network will pay $1 million in Trump's attorney fees. Yeah, so I guess you can see this as them trying to save money. Right? They didn't think they really had a strong defense against Trump. So they was like, you know what? We'd rather just settle now rather than having to pay a lot more and lose this case. Stephanopoulos and ABC News will issue statements of regret as an editor note at the bottom of a March 10th, 2024 online article about comments made earlier this year that prompted Trump to file a defamation lawsuit. Quote, ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10, 2024. The statement reads, Trump filed a defamation suit against Stephanopoulos after he asserted that Trump was found, quote, liable for rape in a civil case during a contentious interview with Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, last March. After playing a clip of Mace discussing being a victim of rape, Stephanopoulos asked her, quote, how do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? Quote, you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape, Stephanopoulos said, alluding to the legal victory by Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll. Yeah, so the irony here is crazy. Okay, George Stephanopoulos found himself in a defamation suit trying to essentially defend E. Jean Carroll by defaming Trump, right, and trying to smear Nancy Mace for supporting Trump. Yeah, he found himself facing defamation allegations, right? So again, this is what happens when the propaganda goes too far. Stephanopoulos repeated that claim 10 times during his spat with Mace, despite the fact that a jury actually determined Trump was liable for, quote, sexual abuse, which has a distinct definition under New York law. After the federal jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse, but not rape, George Louis Kaplan wrote in a letter ruling that just because Carroll failed to prove rape within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump, quote, raped her, as many people commonly understand the word rape. Yeah, but see, again, here's the difference here. There are definitions for a reason, okay? We have a definition of sexual abuse and rape, and in New York, they separate those things out. Okay, so this judge can come out here and say all he wants that, well, under the common understanding, what the common man understands as rape, it's the same thing, but legally is not. Okay, and George Stephanopoulos, as a so-called journalist, he should have known better in regards to trying to use common language when clearly referring to a legal outcome. Okay, and that is why this case had legs, is because George Stephanopoulos knew exactly what he was doing, and he was trying to say that Trump was found civilly liable of rape when that's just simply not true. And again, this guy knows that, but for him, it was all about trying to affect the minds of the viewers, because he knows that it is much more effective to say that Trump was falsely found liable of rape rather than to say like that he was found liable of sexual abuse. Those terms hold different weights, right, in the minds of the viewers, right? And again, that's why he kept going out his way and saying it over and over and over and over and over again, because he wanted his audience to think that Trump was found civilly liable of something worse than what he was actually found civilly liable for, right? That was the whole point. Initially, Stephanopoulos was defiant in the face of Trump's lawsuit, telling CBS late night host Stephen Colbert that he wouldn't be cowed out of doing my job because of a threat. Quote, Trump sued me because I used the word rape, even though a judge said that in fact what did happen. We filed a motion to dismiss, Stephanopoulos said. The settlement came after U.S. Magistrate Judge Lisette M. Reed recently ordered Trump and Stephanopoulos to attend an in-person deposition hearing next week ahead of the December 24th deadline for the defendants to file a motion for summary judgment in order to avoid a trial. In his lawsuit against Stephanopoulos and ABC, Trump was represented by Florida attorneys Alejandro Brito and Richard Klug, who also represent the president-elect in his legal cases against CNN. The settlement with ABC was filed in the Southern District of Florida federal court, where both parties signed and agreed to the terms. Yeah, so, hey, this is just one of many victories that Trump has had, okay? And I'm happy about it, right? I'm happy. I think that these liberal networks definitely should be paying up financially for their misinformation, disinformation, and just outright propaganda against the former president, okay? I love this. Right. And as mentioned in this article, Trump is also suing other liberal media outlets like CBS, for example, for selectively and deceptively editing Kamala Harris's interview in order to make her look more competent than she is. Take a look.
Donald Trump is suing CBS News for $10 billion in damages over Kamala Harris's interview with 60 Minutes. The vice president appeared on the show earlier this month. Trump's attorney says the show selectively edited her answers in an effort to, quote, tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party. He said that caused immense harm to him and his campaign.
They took it was a very long answer. It just went on and on, just words, didn't mean anything. 60 Minutes and CBS cut it all out, and they took another answer for a meaningless question, and they put it up there. Do you know that, right? They put it up there. They took it and they put it up, and they replaced an answer that would show that she's not qualified.
Of course, Trump also decided not to sit down with them as well. CBS has rejected claims the interview was doctored. They call the former president's claims completely without merit and said the network intends to vigorously defend against the lawsuit.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? President Trump is taking a sledgehammer to the liberal media in their lies and their propaganda, and he's making them pay, literally, right? And he got ABC. Hopefully CBS is next. We will see. But for right now, this is a big W against ABC. I kind of wish that Trump refused to settle and made them pay more, okay, than they did. I mean, $15 million, like, it's a lot of money, but it also is not a lot of money for that network. Apparently, $15 million is George Stephanopoulos' salary, right? So ABC had to shell out his salary to pay for his very, very, very sloppy claims that he made on their network in an attempt to affect the outcome of the election. Now, if ABC had any journalistic integrity at all, they would fire George Stephanopoulos, right? It's just not enough to pay out this man's salary in a defamation lawsuit that, again, was unnecessary. If this guy actually was a real journalist, he should be fired, right? Anybody else at a private company that costs the company that much money would be fired, okay? And we'll see if Stephanopoulos will keep his job, but I think that ABC should take it a step further and to fire Stephanopoulos. Maybe that will help them gain back some credibility. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.